يا حسين 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 يا حسين 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 يا حسين.
We need in such occasions like Karbala and Al-Imam Hussein, like Easter, to come together to highlight the values, to highlight the importance of such people who enriched in our lives and have and continue to enrich it, and they will always continue to enrich it in their presence, in our hearts, in our lives, with their wisdom, with their giving, with their example, with their image, and also with their faith. So any facet of celebrating their lives is a plus to humanity, is a plus to the coexistence between religions. And also it's a plus for all races, all religions, all denominations, all sects to learn how to live together and to love each other.
The fact that the message still exists means that it has some quality, it has some power, and it influences great numbers of Muslims. That alone is very survival, is a testament to its strength.
Ali was fighting against the enemy, and the battle was going backwards and forwards. The two of them were fighting together, and eventually Ali overpowers him, has him on the floor, and is just about to kill him. And his enemy from the floor spits into his face. And Ali puts away his sword and walks away. And his own supporters are saying, "What are you doing? You had him. He was on the floor. He was in your hands. One stroke and you would have killed him." And Ali responds, "And I would have done if I could have delivered that stroke before he spat in my face. Because then I would have been acting with right motives, with right intention. But once he spat in my face, I was so angry that he had insulted me in this way that I would have been acting for the wrong motives, the wrong intention, and I could not kill him in that situation." Now then, this reminds us of the morality of warfare and fighting. It reminds us of how you treat your enemies when they are captive, and we see the way in which the women and children of the field of Karbala were treated with inhumanity, with disrespect, without human dignity. Is that an appropriate way to treat another human being, just because they are your prisoner? We see the way in which the dead are mutilated and destroyed so that you can hardly find bodies to bury.
The life of Sayyidina Imam Hussein, and as he moved from one area to another area, those who were the instigators, those who were sent by Yazid, those who were sent by other leaders to instigate and to follow the Ahlul Baytul Athhar, the methods that they developed and adopted in order to get confession or in order to frighten them away, is something that is reflective of what we see in our society. We ourselves have become cruel to our own people, and these are sunnahs of Yazid and his ways.
I choose the word selfless to describe him because he could bravely go beyond the temptation of being a caliph or a king. He went beyond the temptation of power, the temptation of authority, and he chose to give a lesson of self-giving, forgiveness, accepting to sacrifice his life in order not to compromise his beliefs and faith. and sacrificing yourself for what you believe in is definitely a big sign of being selfless.
Hussein dies in the desert. His followers are killed with him. These are, in the terms of the world, pretty insignificant acorns. And yet it reminds us that God's acorns grow into mighty oak trees. Because here we are 2,000 years after the time of Jesus, 1,400 years after the time of Hussein, and we remember them, and they are examples to us still, and their names live on in the lives of their followers in ways that they could not possibly have imagined. And it reminds us then, in our life of faith, what matters is not the impact that we have, how can we measure it, but how faithful are we to what God calls us to do and to plant, in the trust that the acorn that we plant today, however small it may be, in God's good grace and in God's good time, can grow into a mighty oak. This is the life of faith. We do not ask to see results now.
Their mentioning softens our heart when our hearts have become, rigid and harsh. And so it is the Ahlul Baytul Athar, it is the love of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it is the karamat of the Ahlul Baytul Athar and the mu'jizat of the beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that softens our hearts and makes us and our pledge become reaffirmed to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wasallam.
Without Imam Hussein, without his courage, without his perseverance, without his revolution, without his martyrdom, the world would not be what it is today.
We should celebrate the achievement of Al-Imam Hussein. Look at the impact of such a person, not only on his community, on his religion, his impact on the world. So without him, the world will be a poorer place in wisdom, in faith, and in courage. And because of that, I feel it's an opportunity for me as a Christian to look at a great person like this and celebrate his life.
So long as we believe in it, we must pursue it, and we must continue to teach it, because the world is a richer place for that.
Every day we have the opportunity to live the Karbala spirit. Every day we have the opportunity to show those higher virtues that Hussein showed. And so Hussein becomes a role model, an example for every human being.
There is no better word than a rose. A rose without color, made out of light, can you imagine? That gives off a fragrance far better than any other rose. There is no better word than the word rose. The word rose petal occurs in Hadith al-Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Many other words, there can always be an exchange of a better word. Our words are manifest and dependent on our ability to grasp, and there will always be. But the description of them being a rose certainly befits them because they are cheeks.
Although differences exist between world religions, Hussein is a tying knot, connecting all believers and non-believers alike to their inner humanity. Memories of Karbala will forever be etched in the minds of believers and revolutionaries, for Hussein goes beyond our vision and understanding.